Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most magnetically alluring destinations on the entire planet, Greece, or as its locals affectionately call it, Hellas. Have you ever wondered why the world is so universally obsessed with this relatively small Mediterranean nation? I mean, why does it call to millions of visitors year after year, all desperate to soak in its beauty, its culture, and its ancient roots? Well, today we're going to deconstruct exactly why we literally can't resist Greece, looking straight at the data, the geography, and the history that make it so special. Let's get right into the numbers to set the stage. 6,000. That is a staggering number, and it represents the approximate amount of islands and islets scattered right across the Greek seas. To put that into perspective for you, Greece actually holds the European record for the highest number of islands. Out of those 6,000, only about 227 are actually inhabited. But together, they form this massive mosaic of natural wonders that completely defies the country's compact size. And it's not just about the land masses, it's the environment they're in. 300. That's the number of full days of sunshine that regions like Rhodes and Crete bask in every single year. The Mediterranean climate here isn't just some nice perk for a summer vacation. It's a defining feature that physically shapes the landscape and makes Greece one of the absolute sunniest nations in all of Europe. And wrapping around all of this, 13,000. That's the kilometers of coastline snaking around those 6,000 islands and the mainland. Really think about that scale for a second. 13,000 kilometers of golden beaches, dramatic cliffs, and hidden coves, all dotted with these gorgeous historic villages. It really begs the question, how on earth can one single country contain so much diverse beauty? Okay, let's dive into this with part one, the scale of Greek beauty. So the major island groups are definitely not all the same. Over in the Cyclades, this is your iconic, vibrant Greece. We're talking the whitewashed cubic houses, the blue domes, and that brilliant contrast against the Aegean Sea. Then you move to the Ionian Islands. These are the sentinels of the Adriatic, defined by really rich, lush vegetation and a totally different historical vibe, heavily influenced by centuries of Venetian rule. And then furthest east, the Dodecanese. These islands are a historic crossroads of the Mediterranean, boasting diverse climates ranging from arid coastlines all the way to pine-forested mountains. Breaking it down into these distinct vibes really helps us grasp the whole spatial layout without getting totally lost on a map. But, some of these locations hide a pretty dramatic secret beneath their beauty. Take Santorini, the absolute crown jewel of the Cyclades. You know the photos, the romantic sunsets in Oia, the winding streets. But beneath all that lies an awe-inspiring reality. Santorini's breathtaking cliffs overlooking the caldera are actually the rim of a catastrophic volcanic eruption that happened about 3,600 years ago. So that unparalleled beauty, it's the direct result of an ancient disaster that literally blew a much larger island apart. And the mainland? Just as jaw-dropping. Take Meteora, where ancient monasteries are suspended in the sky on these massive pillars of solid rock. Slap in the middle of continental Greece, Meteora practically defies reality. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site where ancient people sought spiritual refuge by doing the impossible, building magnificent monasteries on top of sheer stone cliffs, originally reachable only by stairs carved straight into the rock. It serves as this incredible visual anchor for Greece's rugged, mystical mainland. And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer duality of the Greek experience. On one hand, you have Mykonos, famously the island of the wind, known everywhere for its vibrant, cosmopolitan lifestyle, massive beach clubs, and parties that go from sunset to dawn. But then literally just a ferry ride away, you have Hydra. Here, motor vehicles are entirely banned. No cars at all. Just donkeys, boats, and perfectly preserved 19th century architecture. It is a sanctuary of absolute tranquility and authenticity. You can basically choose the exact century and pace you want to live in just by hopping on a boat. Let's move to our next pillar and see how this builds in part two, echoes of ancient culture. Now, Greece hosts more archaeological sites and museums than any other country in the world, and they form this continuous living story. It starts in deep antiquity with the Minoan civilization on Crete, a past so remote it practically blends with myth at the Palace of Knossos. Then, moving to the 6th century BC, we see imposing monuments like the giant marble Portara Gate on Naxos. By the 4th century BC, we get mind-blowing engineering marvels like the Epidaurus Theater. And this history marches all the way up to the modern era, like in 1834, when Nafplio, this romantic city of stone alleys and Venetian walls, handed the title of modern Greece's first capital over to Athens. This isn't just a collection of dusty ruins, you guys. It's an unbroken chain of human triumph. And what's wild is that the ancient Greeks quite literally mapped their spirituality right onto this physical geography. Take Delphi and Mount Olympus. Delphi, perched on the slopes of Mount Parnassus, wasn't just a nice temple. To the ancients, it was the literal center of the world, the seat of the oracle of Apollo. And Mount Olympus? Rising majestically in the north to nearly 3,000 meters, it wasn't just a tall mountain. It was the legendary, actual dwelling of the gods. They wove their deepest beliefs right into the highest peaks and the deepest valleys. Which brings us to the pure ingenuity of these ancient builders. 14,000. That's the spectator capacity of the ancient theater of Epidaurus, built way back in the 4th century BC. But the crucial point here isn't the size, it's the perfect acoustic engineering. The design of this masterpiece is so flawless that a mere whisper from down on the orchestra level can be heard with absolute crystal clarity by someone sitting in the very last of those 14,000 rows. It is an astounding testament to ancient science, and crazy enough, it still functions perfectly today during their summer festivals. But hey, that engineering prowess isn't strictly ancient. Picture crossing the Corinth Canal. First, you leave the deep blue waters of the Aegean Sea. Then you navigate this impossibly narrow, steep channel excavated straight through solid rock before finally popping out into the Ionian Sea. It's a jaw-dropping marvel of engineering that literally slices a path between two seas, completely transforming the natural landscape to cut down navigation times. Sailing a ship right through those towering, sheer rock walls feels totally surreal, like the waters themselves are suspended in midair. So, the crucial point here brings us to our final pillar in part 3, the authentic Greek identity. In a rapidly changing, super globalized world, a massive 98% of the population here is of Greek ethnicity. That demographic reality makes Greece one of the most homogenous countries in all of Europe. And this is exactly why the culture feels so uniquely preserved, so cohesive, and deeply rooted. When you walk into a tiny mountain village in Carpathos or grab a seat at a busy tavern in Athens, you're experiencing traditions that have been passed down continuously through a remarkably unified cultural lineage. And that lineage really expresses itself in the essential Greek feeling. First off, the food. Greece is the world's third largest producer of olive oil, and that liquid gold shapes their entire traditional taverna gastronomy, mixing it with aromatic herbs, fresh produce, and rich cheeses. Then you've got the daily rituals, like the frappe. It's a cold shaken coffee that is basically a religion, marking the days during the hot summer months. And of course, we absolutely cannot forget the iconic stray cats. It is practically a natural law that if you visit a Greek island, the felines own the alleys. They just lounge around seeking shade, and honestly, they're as much a part of the local charm as any historical monument. You know what's also amazing? It's how the Greek landscape just effortlessly absorbs even modern accidents into its beautiful tapestry. Down in Shipwreck Bay on the island of Zakynthos, a 1980s merchant vessel that was actually smuggling cigarettes ran aground during a violent storm. But instead of becoming a modern eyesore, this rusted hull resting on pristine white sand surrounded by towering limestone cliffs and neon blue waters has become an unintentional, world-famous symbol of the island. Finding breathtaking beauty in the completely unexpected, that's just uniquely Greek. And this brilliantly illustrates the underlying resilience of the people, which is captured perfectly by their national motto, freedom or death. This isn't just some catchy slogan. It is a powerful reminder of the country's deeply turbulent history of struggle and hard-won independence. The Greek spirit is historically unyielding. This is a land that has watched empires rise and fall, yet the core Greek identity, that fierce, unwavering dedication to freedom, has never once been extinguished. And the weight of that history, it's actually hiding right in plain sight. 9. The next time you see the iconic blue and white Greek flag, count the stripes. There are 9 of them. Why? Because they directly correspond to the 9 syllables of that very motto in the Greek language, freedom or death. The deep meaning of their history and their resilient spirit is literally woven into the fabric of their national symbol, waving in the wind above every single island and mountain peak. We've looked at the staggering data behind its endless coastlines, the volcanic rims, and floating monasteries that define its jaw-dropping geography, and the ancient echoes and resilient culture that make up its very soul. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final question. Will you answer the call of Hellas? With all this cinematic beauty, deep history, and vibrant lifestyle laid out before you, the real question isn't why millions visit Greece every year, it's how soon you'll be booking your own flight. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.